Belarus' Impact on the Russian-Ukraine War by Antonio Chillo, Mark Aaron Zeller, Patrick Brasco, and Michael Connolly. My name is Mark Aaron Zeller. Today we will be discussing the current alliance between Belarus and Russia. Belarus is indirectly supporting the Russia attack on Ukraine because they are allowing Russia to launch missiles from their territory and use Belarusian resources to fuel their armies. In this image, we see a row of tanks supplied to Russia from Belarus.
Russia has been utilizing Belarus's land to overwhelm Ukraine, as well as launch missiles and airstrikes from Belarus's territory. Belarus has allowed Russia to use its natural resources such as gas, oil, and other materials to attack Ukraine. Belarus has also supplied medical care for Russian soldiers, and they have let Russia use their airfields. If Belarus decides not to help Russia, they will have lost their alliance with Russia and have to fight the war with Ukraine.
Belarus is also being stripped of its resources for the war, such as wood, natural gas, and oil. This helps Russia's economy, allowing the money for preparing the front lines with soldiers and plenty of ammunition. Belarus fuels the Russian troops with resources transported from across the country. They help transport Russian soldiers into Ukraine using tanks. By economic standpoints, Belarus is acting as a closely allied country to Russia.
This image shows the natural elements in Belarus that can be utilized for war. Here, metals are in blue, fossils are in red, and non-metallic minerals are in green. In this image, Fe is iron, which can be used for armor and ammunition. P and OS are petroleum and oil shade, which is key to fueling troops, especially petroleum, to ensure Russian tanks are in full effect. And lastly, K, which is potash, which is used to make explosives.
Belarus is a strategic position to the north of Ukraine and to the west of Russia, making it a key buffer state for Russia between itself and other NATO countries. It has been speculated by NPR News that Belarusian troops might join Russian soldiers in the battlefield, pushing into Ukraine mainly from the north. However, this hasn't happened yet because Belarus didn't join the war immediately, and Belarusian troops stayed on their side of the border to support the Russians with missile launches and transports. Since September 2022, Russia has launched an estimated 717 missiles from Belarusian territory. Russia has been moving loads of military equipment in and out of Belarus. According to a group of Belarusian monitors, Belarus also sent Russia over 65,000 tons of ammunition, about 100 Soviet tanks, and approximately 20 armored vehicles, said European Leadership Network.
Also, according to ELN, among the units remaining in Belarus are S-400 air defense and Iskander and top M2 missile systems, as well as fighter jets and other military aircraft, including a MiG-31K, fired with Kinshaw missiles that are capable of hitting targets 2,000 meters away.
On June 10, 2022, NPR made a statement about Alex Lukashenko, noting that he feared being chopped off by NATO, therefore it might be necessary for Belarusian troops to join in the attack on Ukraine. He also created the People's Militia, getting in touch with various heads of fishing and hunting boards in Belarus to provide around 5,000 men. NPR doesn't believe that this will be either effective or offensive.
This is a suggestion that Belarus might be gearing up for an attack on Ukraine. While it seems like quite a small smart for just such a large offensive, the Belarusian army is only 62,000 strong and have been untested in combat. They have not fought in any major conflict at all, and we do not know what the state of corruption and the state of actual preparedness is, as we just saw with the Russian army.
In the start of the Russia-Ukraine war, there were huge opposition protests and acts of violence against the war. Russian troops also used Belarusian rail networks, which the rail workers protested and started blowing up train cars. Lukashenko then had to impose the death penalty to anyone who blew up any more train cars.
Belarusians are even fighting in the Ukraine war, but on the side of the Ukraine in the form of small battalions. This is one spot where their role could grow. The Belarusian army are not in favor of joining the war either, so the generals wouldn't be happy if Lukashenko would invade Ukraine. Belarus also owes Russia a lot of money, so if Russia needs troops and money, they can call and get into the action.
A second reason to consider is that strategically, northern Ukraine is now less important, or actually less obtainable for Russians. If we look at the map of the situation in March in Ukraine, you can see that the part of Ukraine that borders Belarus is no longer being controlled by the Russians.